Hi, Kindergarten Foundations friends. Last week in Foundations, we talked about inside and outside. And we talked about things that we find inside our house and things that we find outside our house, right? And so those were our signs, right? Inside and outside. Today I want to talk about two new words. Well, they're not really new. I bet you know these words. I want to talk about up and down. And you guys, those are the signs. They're so easy, right? Up, down, right? So I want to read a book where there's lots of, they use those words a lot in this book. Now, in order to read this book, I have to put on my hat because this book is called, let's see, oh, there we go, that's good. This is called Caps for Sale. And a cap is another word for a hat. I've got my cap. Let's read Caps for Sale, okay? Let's see here. I think you're going to like this one. There's some monkeys in here. Right, here's our friend. Look at him. Oh my goodness. Those are all caps on his head. Now, I can't do that. I don't have enough hats to do that. I only have the one. It said, once there was a peddler who sold caps. A peddler is somebody who sells things. But he was not like an ordinary peddler, carrying his wares on his back. He carried them on top of his head. He stacked his hats up on top of his head. First, remember this means first, he had on his own checked cap. There's his hat. It is a first hat on his head. Just like this hat is my hat. It is the first hat on my head. Then a bunch of gray hats. Then a bunch of brown. Then blue. And on the very top, a bunch of red caps. There he is with all of his caps for sale. He walked up and down the streets, holding himself very straight so as not to upset his caps. As he went along, he called, "Caps, caps for sale, 50 cents a cap." One morning, he couldn't sell any caps. He walked up the street and he walked down the street, calling, "Caps, caps for sale, 50 cents a cap." But nobody wanted any caps. Not that morning. Nobody wanted even a red cap. I would love a red cap. He began to feel very hungry, but he had no money for lunch. "I think I'll go for a walk in the country," he said. And he walked out of town slowly, slowly, so as not to upset the caps. And by that he means so that his caps don't fall off of his head. He walked for a long time until he came to a great big tree. "That is a nice place for a rest," thought he. And he sat down very slowly under the tree and leaned back a little by little against the tree so as not to disturb his hats. So he's trying to sit just so his caps stay on his head. Then he put up his hand to feel if they were nice and straight. First his own checked cap, then the gray, then the brown, then the blue, then the red caps on the very top. They were all there. So he went to sleep, and he slept for a long time. So there's the day, and he's sleeping, sleeping. Do you ever take naps in the day? It's nice to do. It's nice to do when you can. Let's see here. I have a hard time turning my page. There we go. When he woke up, he was refreshed and rested. That meant he felt good. Let's see if we notice anything different. What do you think? Is there something interesting happening there? Do you notice what's different? But before standing up, he felt with his hand to make sure his caps were in the right place. And all he felt was his own cap. Only one. His other ones are missing. There they go. He looked to the right. And he looked to the left. He looked in back of him. And he looked behind the tree. No caps. Where are his caps? Do you have any ideas where they might be? Remember, today we were talking about up and down. Where might his caps have gone? Then he looked up into the tree. What do you think he saw? He is looking up. Oh my goodness, you guys. On every branch sat a monkey. On every monkey was a gray or a brown or a blue or a red cap. All of his caps are in the tree, up in the tree with the monkeys. The peddler looked at the monkeys. The monkeys looked down at the peddler. He didn't know what to do. Finally, he talked to them. So he's looking up and they are looking down. He's looking up. What do you think he's going to say? What do you say to a monkey who took your caps? Let's see. You monkeys, you, he said, shaking a finger at them. You give me back my caps. But the monkeys shook their fingers at him and said, tss, tss, tss. Doesn't seem like they are going to cooperate. This made the peddler angry, so he shook both of his hands at him and them and said, You monkeys, you give me back my caps. But the monkeys only shook both of their hands back at him and said, Tss, 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 tss. This doesn't seem to be going very well. Now he felt quite angry. He stamped his foot. That means to stomp your foot down hard. Can you do that? And he said, You monkeys, you better give me back my caps. But the monkeys only stamped their feet back at him and said, can you guess? By this time, the peddler was really very, very angry. He stamped both of his feet and shouted, You monkeys, you must give me back my caps. So both feet at the same time, 2 feet. Can you do that? But the monkeys only stamped both of their feet at the same time and said, Tss, 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 tss. At last he became so angry that he pulled off his own cap and threw it on the ground and began to walk away. He's walking away. He threw it down to the ground. But then, what did the monkeys do, you guys? The monkeys each pulled off their caps. And all the gray caps, and all the brown caps, and all the blue caps, and all the red caps came flying down out of the tree. Look, they all came down. They were up in the tree, and now they are down. Oh, I'm having trouble with my pages. So the peddler picked up his caps. Oh, let me get my cap. He picked up the caps. Put them back on his head. First his own checked cap, right? That's his hat right there. Then the gray caps, then the brown caps, then the blue caps, then the red caps on the very top. And he slowly, slowly walked back to town calling, Caps! Caps for sale! 50 cents a cap! He got all of his caps back on top of his head. They are going up, 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 up. The end. That was a good story, huh? In the story, the man fell asleep at the tree, and when he woke up, he looked up and saw monkeys had stolen his caps. The monkeys looked down, and they saw the man who was angry. What do you see when you look up in your house? Do you see a light? Do you see a fan? What do you see when you look up? What do you see when you look down where you're sitting? I see my toes. I see some papers on my floor. I see my carpet. What do you see when you look down? Thanks for joining me today for our story about up and down. And I'll see you guys next week.